song that you can turn up on It's the type of song that give you shit Monday to...
Hi guys, and welcome to my new podcast, Sunday Sermon with Ola. Now, if you already are familiar with my work, you'll know that I have a brand called Sunday Service with Ola on the cap, and this is an extension, I guess. If you know me, you know I'm a Christian, but it's not like a real sermon. Just like Sunday Service isn't a real church. It's just the way in which I interpret myself and what I believe and how I think and who I am, and then try and give it out to the world. I'm still working out what the podcast is. I'm still, do you know what it is? I just want to jump out and get there and start creating rather than spend a bunch of time procrastinating on this. So here I am. I hope you'll take the journey with me. I hope you come along with me. I hope you find it entertaining, maybe even informative, maybe thought-provoking. But either way, I hope this is valuable to you. And I always want to, add value in whatever I do. So this is also my opportunity, for like 20 to 30 minutes every week just to come and speak to you guys. So I appreciate it as well. It's good for me. So I can't lie. It's not completely altruistic. So I want to make it clear that if you want to get in touch, please DM me on Instagram. That's at olathecomedian. I want to make sure that I'm getting in some feedback, some questions, things for me to discuss and go through. And also, if you're a fan of previous things I've worked on, like Quotas 4 and so on, welcome. I'm sorry that, you might not be getting in the format that you want, but hey, welcome to Sunday Sermon with Ola. So today I wanted to talk to you about open relationships. Now, you would have heard in the news about Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith and August Alsina, and I think you probably would have heard the fact that August Alsina did this interview where he, exposed the fact that he was in a relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith for all of this time. And, obviously it leaves a lot of room for discussion. It leaves a lot of room for speculation. And that's one thing I don't really want to do too much. I don't want to speculate on their situation because you never really know the ins and outs. And I'm not really a gossip kind of guy. I think I'm more interested in the ideas and the issues that come up. So I want to talk more broadly around open marriages. Now, I am a married man myself. And so, when I come to this, I come to this as a married man. And as I mentioned before, as a Christian. So the first thing I want to say about open marriages is that what I'm about to say doesn't just pertain to open marriages. It pertains to marriage in general today. Like, if there's one thing that's clear to me about marriage today, it's that consistently people are fiddling with the formula. Stop fiddling with the formula. I feel like God gave us a fairly decent formula, and the problem is the formula doesn't work for all of us. So rather than change ourselves, we change the formula to fit us, because ultimately we've become our own gods, right? So the way I feel must be right. Therefore, I need to switch things around to fit how I feel. Now, even in the Bible, you'll find many situations in which there is polygamy, it's all different kinds of versions of marriage. And what you consistently find is that every time human beings tweak with the marriage formula, they mess things up. They never learn it as a lesson, but they consistently do. When I don't know, this is for the people that are really in their Bibles, but even if you're not in your Bible, here's a particular story. So in the Bible, Abraham was getting old, and so was Sarah, and they didn't have a son. God had promised them a son, but they hadn't seen it yet. So they figured we'll take matters into our own hands. So basically, Sarah gives Abraham her slave woman, maidservant, Hagar. And she is supposed to be a surrogate, carry the child, and this will be counted as Sarah's child. And the Bible records that there was a certain, Hagar started raising her chest a certain way. Like, because she was sleeping with the man of the house. So she started feeling entitled a certain way. She started speaking to Sarah a certain way. And Sarah didn't like it. And all of a sudden, she's like, send Hagar away. I want nothing to do with her. And it's like, you do realize how it created this situation for yourself. You do realize that, right? No. Of course people don't realize that because they continue it down generations. And I've considered it myself, I'm not going to lie. I've considered it that maybe we weren't supposed to be married to just one person. Maybe we're supposed to have the option to sleep with many other people. But do you know, I realize every time that we try and switch the formula, it's usually showing us something in us that we need to work on. And whenever we try and skip the things we need to work on, we not only is it a matter of, oh, this horrible taskmaster of a God is like trying to make my life miserable, but it's also you miss out on the actual blessings that come with it. Like, marriage is a journey of wisdom and mysteries. Marriage is not something you can explain to someone in a book or you can watch in a movie. You have to live through it to learn the wisdom. You have to unconditionally love somebody and partner up with them for life to truly understand it. You can consistently go through life feeling like you really are smart, you really are wise, you really are capable, and marriage is that institution that will truly rework you. And for good, when done well, obviously. So that's why I feel like, if we're going to reference Will and Jada, there's some talk about them not having a romantic connection anymore, but they're life partners, so they understand and they have an arrangement, they have an understanding. But the truth is, of course, they're not going to feel romantic anymore. That's what happens in marriage. No matter how rich you are, no matter how beautiful you are, things happen. Your eyes get turned, you get tired, stuff comes in the way, stuff comes up, you start to see the person differently and all sorts. But the truth of the matter is, that's part of the job. That's part of the work. Is that to learn how to revive. I know Jada Pinkett is a very wise woman and Will Smith is very wise. They put out a lot of very smart sounding things on the internet. But I'm telling you, the Bible says that God uses the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. Whilst a lot of us were looking at Will and Jada's marriage and saying, oh, I want that kind of love, you don't know what that kind of love entails. Marriage is hard. And for a lot of people that are judging them as well, like, you really don't know. Like, if you're a guy and you've ever wanted to have a threesome with your girl, you want a version of open marriage. You're just very, inconsistent and have a double standard as to who gets to, who gets to sleep with your wife. You just don't want it to be a man. You're okay with it being a woman. And then truth is, most of the time, you see a woman sleep with another woman and she starts making sounds you ain't never heard before. And then all of a sudden now you're intimidated by that. It's all a game of intimidation. So I don't come at it from like a judging perspective, like, oh, how could they do something so crazy? The truth of the matter is, I spend a lot of my life addicted to pornography. And one of those categories that you'll often see come up time and time again is some version of swinging. And there's many different, versions of it. There's many different subcategories and so on. Whether they're, having a threesome or, someone's being cuckolded or, like flipping, they're at an orgy. Whatever the thing is happening, there's still some version in which people want to explore extramarital sex. It's not as crazy as it sounds. It's, obviously it sounds very Hollywood when it's Will Smith and Jada and they use all the language and life partnership and blah, blah, blah. But the idea is very simple, which is that for a long time, human beings have wanted to find a way to have their cake and eat it. And not have to take responsibility for what comes afterwards. Now you got August Alsina doing the side chick interview, crying out to the public that he had his feelings hurt. Come on, you know what I'm saying? That's a grown man. Like, what you doing, bro? Everyone's going to sit there and be like, well, you knew the deal. You knew she was married, blah, blah, blah. But of course it happens. It happens to women every day. The only difference is we call the man a scumbag when he cheats on his wife or he sleeps with someone other than his wife and then the woman falls in love and then he cuts her off and, now her feelings are hurt and blah, blah. We call the man a scumbag. With Jada Pinkett, as, call her what you want to call her. I've seen people calling her like a boss, like, well done, sis. You know what I'm saying? You really had these men on lock. But is that really what life is about? Really? As I say, we lost our way a long time ago, man. We started fiddling with the formula. Every day someone's trying to fiddle with the formula. Everyone's like, do you know what? Do you know what I think marriage is? Everyone's real deep when it comes to, you know what I think? Do you know what the deepest thing I ever said about marriage is that I don't understand it. That's the deepest thing you could ever say. I need to learn. I need someone to teach me. But nah, man, everyone's trying to fiddle with the formula. Stop fiddling with the formula. That's my message for today. That's the first Sunday sermon with Ola. Stop fiddling with the formula. It's a lifetime commitment. And yes, it's the only thing you commit to for life without ever trying it out. But it's supposed to be a journey. It's supposed to be a process in which both of you don't submit to just each other. You both submit to God. And that's supposed to be the guiding force. That at least if you marry somebody who's submitted to God, then at least you know that there's a power a bit above both of you. If you are the highest power in your relationship, you will be very shocked the day that you get surpassed or usurped. You'll be very shocked. Of course you'll be shocked. You'll be like, what? I'm the biggest power around here and you're not listening to me? What's going on? The day you should be worried is if you married somebody who's submitted to God and they stop listening to God. Then you're like, whoa, okay, that's a real problem. But if that person truly believes in God and truly believes that there's somebody out there who's bigger than both of you, who sets the rules and sets the tone, then as far as I'm concerned, you should be all right. You've always got someone to go and report them to. And always got someone to who you believe anyway ordained that both of you are supposed to be together. That's the protection that comes with both of you having that belief. But I understand not everybody does. But that's why I say everyone keeps fiddling with the formula, because it's an earthly wisdom. There's a new wisdom that's going to come out and say, do you know what? The best thing to do with marriage actually is to get married only on a Saturday. Saturday marriages tend to last longer and people will follow it. People literally need some kind of guidance and will do everything other than truly sacrifice, compromise, work with each other, and so on. I know a lot of dudes be like, I don't know how Will can be so cool with another dude smashing his wife. Again, I get it. I get it. One, I get the point where you get to where you're like, sometimes in life, especially as a man, you know, especially if you spend most of your life being quite proud, you can get to a point where you feel so beaten down that you're like, I just want her to be happy, even if it's not with me, or even if I'm not the one providing it. You know, it's in the same way that like a guy might enjoy watching his girl use a sex toy. It's like I'm not necessarily the one providing her the pleasure, but just as long as she's happy. And women don't realize how much a man just wants his wife to be happy. Like, men really want you to be, like, sexually satisfied, overall satisfied. Like, a lot of our happiness is attached to you being happy. More than we care to imagine. And most of the time when it's not, it's because we're really, really hurt over someone we tried to make happy and that person wasn't happy. But most of the time, deep down, like, a lot of what drives us is making a woman happy. So when it gets to the point where you've accepted that, okay, maybe I'm a bit older, maybe I'm busy right now, I can see how you get to the point where you start to let another man pleasure your wife. And I'll tell you another one. This is very, very deep. I'll tell you another reason why I get it. It's because I'll tell you something about myself. In my early relationships, I was very, very insecure. Very, very insecure. And this is me being 100% transparent with you. And it would make me sick to my stomach to think of a girlfriend of mine or a girl I like with somebody else. Like, you know deep down, every girl's had a previous boyfriend or something, or if there's some other guy she's liked or whatever. You're not the center of the world. You know it intellectually, but emotionally, absolutely crushed me. Absolutely crushed me, just to even think about it. Oh my goodness, it's the worst. One time I Googled a girlfriend. I don't know why I did that. I don't know if she's supposed to pop up on TripAdvisor as a tourist destination or something. I don't know. But somehow I stumbled on an old blog and she was talking about an ex-boyfriend. I was like, why the heck did I do this? Why would I ever go and look for this information? If you look for it, you're going to find it. You're going to find something that upsets you. I remember I was so insecure. One time I was so upset that my girlfriend's ex-boyfriend had the same birthday as me. I was like, So what? Like on my birthday, you're giving another man birthday sex? Come on, bruv. That's not on. Do you know how ridiculous that is? That's how insecure I was. And one of the things I tried to do to try and combat that insecurity was to try and make myself comfortable with the idea of the person I'm with somebody else. To the point where I almost had an opposite effect. To the point where, and this is the highly tied into porn and all kinds of, suggestions about what sex is that don't come from, the one who created sex or any kind of healthy place. But when you try and convince yourself that like you're okay with the idea of the fact that your woman's been with somebody else, you can start to get into a point where you almost want that. You kind of swing from one extreme to the other. So you go from, I want this Virgin Mary to, I want this Mary Magdalene of a prostitute. Like you literally just go from one extreme to the other. Mary Magdalene was a prostitute, right? I think so. She was a prostitute. And it's like, when you go from one end to the other, you're not healed, but what you're doing is you're using sex as a way to kind of cope, or use the sexual pleasure, or rewiring your brain through sex to enjoy a woman's promiscuity. And again, that's why I gave that example, because in the first one, when it was like, oh, you're kind of resigned to it, that's kind of like what would be que sera. But this one is like, you might actually start to physically enjoy the idea just because you're trying to cope with the fact that you can't handle it. Like, sex is really, 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 really deep rooted, really quite, psychologically and emotionally and spiritually intertwined with so many other things that, often the stereotype is that it has something to, like, when it's a guy, it has something to do with his mom and Oedipus complex and all these different things that we get thrown at it. But what it really shows me is that often when you're seeing somebody exhibit a sexual behavior, it's not just as simple as it seems. So really, when you find yourself in that position where you're wanting that open marriage, you maybe have to ask a few more questions about what's the real problem you're trying to solve? And is this the best solution for it? I know it sounds forward thinking and progressive, but is it really? If we live in a world where consistently the narrative and the solution to our problems is to make ourselves happy, at what point do we acknowledge the fact that this does not really work? It doesn't work. Because yes, okay, Jada Pinkett might have been getting her back blown out by a younger guy and having a very fun time. They were having some kind of rich sex. They weren't just sneaking around at the travel lodge. They were in penthouses and, they're doing all kinds of freaky stuff, and, there's tattoos involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's real. It's mad. You know what I'm saying? She's older. She's had some experience. She's not shy about her body anymore. You know what I'm saying? She, even when that little fart sound come out, my guy's singing R&B over it like it's a beat. Like, it's gonna be wild, right? To be honest, like, considering how cool everybody is, they could have been making love to Wada Wilson. They could have been making love to Getting Jiggy with It. Maybe August Alsina was pamming Jada Pinkett to Getting Jiggy with It. Maybe he was giving her Big Willie style. You never know. But the truth of the matter is, what we actually don't know is he really ever gonna be okay? He said, "Oh, I can die happy now that I know I've loved her and blah blah blah. I truly experienced that." But really, like, is he not just carrying another trauma now into another relationship? Because people never really fully healed from what they're dealing with. Whatever would make him choose to carry on a 6-year relationship as the side, not even somebody's priority, but just be the dude on the side, and just be having like a romantic relationship with a woman who's committed in every other way to another person. It's like, What is he now going to carry into, the time when he actually wants to be in a real relationship with somebody? Maybe want to be married to somebody. What does that mean for their marriage afterwards? What does it mean for the kids? I know if I'm Jaden, I ain't bringing my friends around no more because clearly my mum likes them young. I can't have my boys beating my mums. You can't be. You just look back, you realize one of the PlayStation pads is on the sofa. Like, where's Rashad? Rashad's upstairs piping your mums. It's not okay. It's not okay. They're gonna have to reevaluate what it means to love, and to be honest, I'm not surprised if it's very Hollywood. They probably all had a conversation about it. She probably called their kids to the red table. They had a chat about it. She, doing their transparency thing. But the truth of the matter is, like, a lot of what we are trying to do is create stable relationships so that we can raise children and give them the best chance to go out into the world and form their own stable relationships. Now, I understand the power of a group environment, and it takes a village to raise a child, but the starting nucleus of that, hence nuclear family, has got to be a strong marriage. I think deep down the lesson I would take away if I was in that household is that you love someone while it's convenient for you, and when it's no longer convenient for you, you find a new solution. Whereas what marriage actually requires of you is to go through inconvenient times. I mean, how else can I put it? It's not always simple. It's not always easy. It's not always fun. It's not always the one that seems the most attractive. Some of you really just want weddings. You don't want to be married. You don't have to commit to somebody. You don't have to share your life with somebody. And if you do, then open marriage is not the way forward. There was a time where I probably would have gone with this. I can't lie to you. But if I'm telling you that I want to go with an open marriage, it's just because in my idea, there's this sexual bliss over the horizon I'm going to reach where there's going to be all this sex and so on. But when I really think about it, it's like chasing more and more trash food. It's like chasing more and more junk food around. You're getting these sugary and salty hits. These high-fat foods make you feel good. It's all comforting and whatnot. The truth is, you feel like trash after a while, man. There's something nourishing and rewarding when you go through all the tough times. I'm not going to act like, being married to my wife is just one big walk in the park. There's times where, it's absolutely horrific, and there's nothing I could want in this world more than to not be married to her. But the truth is, when you work through those moments, you come out the other end. Oh my goodness, fantastic. Then you're like, oh, I thank God I stuck through this. Thank you, Lord, for saving us. But what that does is it starts to work on you. It starts to work on you from the inside. While you spend all this time trying to change your partner, God's like, I'm trying to change you. You need more patience. You need to learn how to build. You need to learn how to compromise. You need to learn how to communicate. You need to learn how to love somebody and forgive somebody time and time again. You need to learn how to love somebody, especially when they don't deserve it. Because if you think you're great because you loving people when they deserve it, you're just like everybody else. Nothing special about that. So yeah, the message for today is stop fiddling with the formula. This has been a fun. I want to be more consistent with my content, and I want to make sure I'm consistent with this podcast. I have been practicing with this setup. I've tried to make sure that I have all my equipment ready and that I know how to use everything. So hopefully this is something I can be consistent with. What really helps is your feedback. So please be sharing this kind of thing with people you know will like it, and interact with me. Spread the word and interact with me. That will really help. When you record a podcast, you really are just talking into the abyss until you hear back from somebody. So the feedback is always fantastic. If you want to subscribe to my Patreon and support my work, it's not just this podcast. I have sketches that I'm trying to shoot. I have Sunday service with Ola, which I'm always trying to build up. And just in general, I want to be able to put out consistent content for people who, like myself, don't necessarily ascribe to the dominant narrative. For myself, I don't see a lot of the kind of content that I like being made, so I try and make some. And if you rock with it, then please, by all means, support it. So the Patreon is patreon.com/olathecomedian. And the most important thing is to interact with me and spread the word. Thank you for listening to Sunday Sermon with Ola. I'll be back next week. Let's do this again.